So now what we're going to do is we're going to move to Brigadier General Thomas H. Todd III, the Army Program Executive Officer for Army Aviation. Thomas, he's back behind me. I was looking for him over there. Yep. You're sneaky.
Good to see you.
Thanks. Good.
Thanks. Am I on? Can you hear me? Cool. All right. Good morning. Good to see our friends in the audience, industry, and all others. Welcome. I'm going to make it hard on the camera guy. I don't stand behind the podium very well, but thanks first and foremost for the invite back. It's always good to be here. It's good to be with leaders, get together, synchronize, but it's also good to be with soldiers, and it's great to be with industry, our industry partners. You mean so much to us on what we do, what we deliver to these great sons and daughters of our nation. Certainly to General Gabram, we miss you. Bill Marriott did a great job, obviously, in your stead, is doing a great job. But I miss my battle buddy. I'll be first and foremost to say that. It's an honor to get to support the branch chief, General Gaylor, and the priorities he hands us each and every day. So what I'm going to talk to you about a little bit is kind of where we're heading in the context of really new priorities we've been given and a new way of doing business. So this is really our organization, if you will. It's more aligned, if you will, with priorities that you heard the Vice talk about. Really from top to bottom, those are the priorities we've been given for what ultimately multi-domain ops and the capabilities that we're being asked to deliver should entail. As you can see, they lead with many of the top priorities of the Army. And some of those have been handed over to the PEO, some of those still really reside inside the S&T community. But make no mistake about it, General Wally Rugen and I work well together. There's no light between us. We work through hard issues together each and every day, our teams do. So I don't know if many of you really even know what a PEO does, but I'll attempt to help you with that because in a way, we're a little bit behind the curtain, hopefully making these programs a reality for you each and every day. But this is the team. We take our requirements from Army Aviation, that's our primacy. We ultimately receive the bulk of our funding from that stream, but we also have streams of funding from the ISR arena. So you see many of the folks that give us requirements and give us dollars. We also receive requirements from really the Maneuver Center of Excellence, the maneuver proponency in the way of smalls. They've taken over quite a bit in the way of small UASs. So we're doing a lot with them today, and that's relatively new for us. In addition, we have a lot of cross-cutting efforts that work and will work across all fleets. As you can imagine, several things that cross-cut. First and foremost, anything that we do in the way of cyber, but obviously AP&T. And you hopefully have heard some about AP&T in the past. It is a significant capability enhancer and quite frankly a vulnerability if we don't get after it each and every day. The network, that's nothing new, but quite frankly the way we're doing it is new, the way it's being integrated in the land component, and the fact that we in the aerial layer, if you will, have to make sure that we work with at all times and provide an air-ground capability with the land component. We also have to work with our aviation assets below the coordinating altitude, and we have to work with our joint partners, obviously, above that. So we have quite the cross-cutting missions. You've heard, hopefully, a little bit about modular open system architecture. That is something that is in the works that the CFT has as an initiative. You heard the Vice talk about it. It is certainly a standard that we hope to deploy inside our efforts and ultimately hold the industry to that standard so that we can have a constant goal for you to reach when it comes to integrating new technologies into our platforms. And then operational power. So something that we have found inside the aircraft is aviators have known this for years, air crews know this. Aircraft are tremendously sensitive to operational power. So the realm that we operate in, quite frankly, dictates that we pay close attention to ultimately what gives us the greatest capability of the asset we currently have and the assets we will have in the future. And for example, the UH-60 today has had so much growth in its basic takeoff weight that largely in a high-hot environment it carries half a squad, not a squad. The UH-60 is our premier tactical assault helicopter. Its entire mission was to carry a squad. right? And so for us as an Army, what we have to do is we have to make sure that we don't abandon our squads on the battlefield and require 2 Blackhawks to do the mission of 1. And so operational energy or operational power is the thing that really will restore that. Some of you may know that as the ITEP program. I'll talk about that a little bit in the future. But it has application well across our platforms. This slide right here is ultimately really our history and kind of where we're going. It's just a menu, if you will, of some things we've done in the past. Next slide. Ultimately, what PEO Aviation does each and every year, before I talk some more about some of our current programs, is deliver capability to the field. If we do not deliver capability to the field, we're missing our mission. Ultimately, we design, develop, deliver, but we deliver. And if we don't deliver, we miss the mark. Yes, the majority of these are upgrades, but they're well-needed upgrades. And as you can see, our PMs work very hard to make sure that we do fieldings in conjunction with the QASM, with what FORSCOM needs, and on behalf of the priorities we've been given each and every year. So that's just a little vignette on a few things that we've done over the past year. Next slide. Where we're going. So you hear about the future a lot, but let's look at the current investment as well. The current investment for capabilities today ultimately reside in areas that the Army has determined make the most impact. First and foremost, our first open system architecture, really cockpit, is in the UH-60 Victor. It is a great teaming effort between AMCOM, Army Material Command, and the PEO. These will be built at CCAD and ultimately fielded to the fleet of hopefully about 760 aircraft by the end state. And it will put into our fleet not just 760 aircraft, but 760 architectures that now you as industry have a standard to develop to. That's really the pre-runner, if you will, to MOSA. It is helping inform MOSA right now as we speak. And I have no doubt it'll do great things. We have already, through IoT, or through the limited user test, as it prepares to go into IoT&E, learned some additional things that we can do, and we turn changes right now in that cockpit, sometimes overnight. Software changes in that aircraft overnight. It's pretty amazing if you think about it. No full regression testing, fully partitioned. Touch this part of the aircraft, you don't have to touch that part of the aircraft. You may think that's relatively simple. That's not simple. In the aviation business, everything is tested to a very high level, and that is not a simple task. The 64 Echo is obviously been worked on very hard by the PM, by AMCOM, ultimately by the entire Army over the last couple years to get the quality where we expect it to be. We are now going through, as we speak today, final operational test and evaluation of the V6 variant, which will bring us some capabilities, which I'll speak to in just a minute. The goal of the V6 FOT&E is not just to put a new capability in the field. It is to also clean up some of the quality issues we've had in the past. So that aircraft, for those of you that will fly that aircraft, when we begin fielding it, ultimately it should not only provide you those new capabilities, but hopefully it will deal with some of the issues you've been having in the fleet. The Block 2 program, as you heard the Vice talk about, we're continuing to move on with the Gs. The Fs are ultimately a decision the Army will make in due time whether or not they want to invest now or in the future in that. We've been asked to complete engineering manufacturing development phase, and we're on track to do that. The first flight test article will be in Mesa this summer. Gray Eagle ER. So Gray Eagle ER is certainly a success story. General Atomics has done a fantastic job bringing us really a new capability that's taken our ISR loiter time, if you will, from roughly 24 hours to 42 hours. That's quite a long mission. That's quite a long sortie. That's quite a lot of reach. In addition, it carries lethality, and it is a tremendously lethal platform. I'm sure you'll hear more about that later. And then the engine, which I spoke about, which certainly we're looking forward to moving out with the ITEP program. But in the middle are really my concentration areas as a PEO. Somebody says, what do you do as a PEO? My job is to take the prototype that you saw at the Detroit Auto Show and turn it into reality. That's my job. My job is not to build the prototype. My job is not to put real shiny objects on it. My job is to take that and turn it into a reality. If I do it right, I do it where it's affordable at scale. And this is where I'm thankful for our industry partners, because one of the number one goals that we have as an Army is to be able to build these things at scale in high quantities. We've been given, and we have hopefully relayed those to you on all our future efforts, our affordability goals for both unit cost and flying hour cost. And they're truly goals, and we need your input. We're to make sure that all systems remain survivable, no matter whether it was fielded 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or 5 years from now. It has to be survivable on the future battlefield. We're constantly looking at, as you know, the environment changes. We ask that industry heavily look at producibility. I really can't produce something that cost $300 million a copy that was an original prototype. We can't do business that way. So we have to make it really where we can produce economically and consistently with the quality we expect for the soldier. And obviously, ultimately, achieve the reliability inside the platform. Sometimes, yes, it is true, we do accept reliability as is, and we agree as an Army. The Army makes a decision to move out and field a system with reliability as it is, and improve it incrementally over time. One such system that we did that on was the Gray Eagle. The Gray Eagle reached operational capability earlier because we as an Army said we'll take reliability as is, because the need is so great, the capability it provides is so great, and we must have it in the field earlier rather than later. So as we get to good enough, and this is for our soldiers out there, understand that our goal is to never keep it in development so long that you never get it. That is one of the guilty things that we actually have to fight each and every day as developers. Our goal is to put it in the field when it's good enough, and then have you help us make it better each and every day. Next slide. So real quick, as we go through these, this gives you just a few timelines. 60 Victor obviously is on the cusp. We're already in first-rate production, at low-rate initial production. We look forward to that aircraft and that cockpit, which will be a recapped L model, completely recapitalized, and then an entirely new cockpit and architecture put in it, come to the field. It will actually surpass the agility of any of our platforms rather quickly. Next slide. We talked about the V6. More lethality, obviously intelligence. It has quite a bit of cognitive aiding for the crew. As you can imagine, workload is tremendous, and we got to work on that as we bring new capabilities to our soldiers. So we will continue to work on that, and I'll just put it this way. There's several enhancements that help us with the tyranny of distance or the new battlefield calculus that we have to get after, and we'll leave it at that. We look forward to that first unit equipped rather soon. Next slide. This is that EMD program I talked to you about, and that takes us all the way to Milestone C. Again, we are already in production of the G models with TAPO, and those will move forward, and then hopefully the Army will see fit to, at some point down the road, have us continue with the F model program. We look forward to that flight test. Next slide. Gray Eagle, there you go. This is a continuous development program, and we look forward to continuing to work on that and make it more survivable in the future. Next slide. ITEP, there's your timeline on ITEP. I will say this, people say to me, it's just an engine. That's not just an engine, folks. If that was available, we would have just gone and bought it. Nobody offered an engine that was just readily available that could both give you 1,000 additional shaft horsepower and fuel savings. It's very hard to do, as you can imagine. But that was the task that was given to our S&T community. They actually proved it out with some great companies, and then we just awarded. So we expect to operationalize this capability, and obviously you can talk to the branch. Joe Gaylor certainly knows this all too well, exactly what it'll provide in one period of darkness. So it is a significant combat multiplier. It won't just carry a full squad, it'll also help the AH-64 carry a full payload of weapons. So it's clearly going to be a combat multiplier as we get that simple touch point on both the Black Hawk and Apache in the field. It is a true sweet spot. Next slide. So I talked a little bit about our ISR work. Certainly we are working hard to replace a low-density, high-value fleet, the ARL fleet. This is moving along nicely. We expect there to be no more than 6 to 8 of these in the fleet, but they are obviously deployed around the world at all times. The current ARLM and some others are deployed around the world at all times. We look forward to this being deployed in the near future as well. Next. Okay, so the PEO, again, we design, we develop it, we deliver it, start over. We design it, we develop it, we deliver it, start over, right? We couldn't do this without our partners. We really couldn't. So we have FMS partners I'll talk about in just a minute, which are tremendously valuable to us. When it comes to size of the fleet, ultimately our fleet is larger than anybody's in the world, but we don't take you for granted no matter how large your fleet is or how small your fleet is. But we do work with the other branches of service inside DoD and other agencies. Flash to bang, something we're very proud of that we worked very hard on was building the Afghan Rotary Wing Air Force. We were given that mission and delivered those first Black Hawks within 1 year. That's quite and thanks to industry as well, our industry partners for helping us with that. And to date, we have over 30 Black Hawks in theater supporting the Afghan Air Force, and we're growing every day. We do the MD 530, and thanks to our partners there through our Multinational Aviation Special Project Office. But I wanted to point something out here, because this is really what we're after in FVL. We're after a leader-follower program where the Army is the lead service, where others can adopt and come along our side. And at the end of the day, that's what a real joint program should look like. Army requirements serving an Army need, run by the Army as the lead investor, with other services that came alongside and developed really and special ops, and developed their unique configurations to that very same platform. The Black Hawk is that model. It is by far the most successful helicopter program that we've run. Not only have we had other sister departments come alongside and purchase it, modify it, utilize it, but we've also had other nations do the same thing. We've also had other agencies inside the U.S. government utilize that aircraft, and that is a true model program of really how, if the Army leads, others will follow. And there's no doubt about it. We have confidence that that works. That's where we're heading with really Future Vertical Lift Cape Set 3 right now. And we expect to continue to build something great for the next tactical assault aircraft and let other folks come and modify it as necessary. It is really the best and most efficient way to do it. What we do know is, and I'll repeat something Wally Rugen says often, what we do know is a joint program with separate requirements is not joint, right? A joint program with the same requirements can be joint, but that looks a lot to me like a service-led multi-service program. Cool? So we're going to continue to push that. We're going to continue to push that as really our past is our future, and this is the model to use it. Next slide. These are just an example of the folks that help keep our production lines going. It's important as we realign resources in the Army that we have great partners out there. I will tell you, we have aircraft for sale, so come see me. Always willing to help keep and fill our lines at a minimum sustaining rate so that we can achieve the best price available for both you and me. If you're sitting on the sidelines thinking about purchasing aircraft, come see me. I need you. We need each other. You just don't know it yet. And we'll do everything we can help at every level to make sure that we are great partners and we build our allied partner capacity. Next slide. All right. Lastly, as we talk about lethality, protection, and reach, something that the branch chief and obviously our leadership inside the Army and Defense push each and every day, what are we looking for? So as we talked about kind of areas we're invested in, when it comes to CFTs, these are the areas on the left where we're invested. We invest our time, precious resources, and our program managers. Whether it be Future Vertical Lift, the Army Network, or APNT, those are our specific ties to the CFT structure right now. It could grow more. But on the right-hand side, you see many of the characteristics that we have to have in all our future platforms. So if you would, take note of the characteristics that we're after. Because quite frankly, if you think about it as just your aircraft, just your MDS, just your product, then you're in archaic thinking. We can't think about it that way. Because no matter what platform we put in the Combat Aviation Brigade, it has to have these characteristics in order to support multi-domain operations, which you heard. So stay with us. We're going to move fast. We put an RFI out for CAPESAT 3 2 weeks ago. I mandated the response within 1 week. I know that's hard. I know that's aggressive. But what's the one thing we've been accused of? And that's not being aggressive. All right, so we're going to be aggressive. You're going to have to burn the midnight oil. You're going to have to get me what you can. And we're going to make the best decision possible, and we're going to move forward. We're not going to wait. Perfect is the enemy of good enough. And we're not going to wait. Next slide. So I always like to show this. It is our battle rhythm for development. If you're industry and you're listening, get inside that battle rhythm. Offer solutions to our soldiers inside that battle rhythm. If you're a software developer, I need solutions offered every 18 to 36 months. If you're developing components, LRUs inside my platforms that deal with processing, data storage, transport layer, you name it, get inside that battle rhythm of 5 to 10 years. If you're doing dynamics, really hard, gearing, blades, new engines, new power capabilities, it doesn't matter whether it's electric, hybrid, our power requirements are growing exponentially on these platforms. The MEP gear alone is going to grow our power requirements significantly, exponentially. The curve is not, simple. It is curved. So please help me get power, additional power in this platform, and then new airframes. So if I was to ask you how long we keep an airframe, you could probably guess it. It's about 40 to 45 years. That's how long we keep an airframe, typically. We recapitalize it for 2 times after it reaches its 25-year life. And then we divest it. Why do we divest it? Because it can't be helped anymore. It literally cannot be sustained. So what we do is we try to create new platforms. Obviously, FEL is one of those, but so is the AH-64 Echo. That is a brand new airframe. So is the UH-60 Mike. That is a brand new airframe. So is the CH-47 Block 1 and Block 2. That is a brand new airframe. All the meanwhile having to recapitalize probably half the Black Hawk fleet through CCAD. So that's our battle rhythm. Please help us with that. Next slide. Again, we have 10 transition agreements right now signed with the S&T community. We have 17 coming behind it. Whether we sign them all or not is whether or not they truly prove out. But we'll be ready to turn that into reality. Next. You've seen that. That's pretty much a restatement of my opening slide. Next slide. Our mission is to support integrated, aligned, and operationalized to the Combat Aviation Brigade. If we do it right, we do it with a lot of partners in the business, and we deliver you what you desire and need to support, especially future operations. Next. So that's our goal, is to help design the capabilities that we're asked to put in the next Combat Aviation Brigade. We're not in charge of doctrine. We are in charge of delivering material solutions for that. In closing, what I will say is this. We lost a great PM last year, Colonel Joe Heckrell. Passed away. He was my Apache PM this time last year. And I appreciated the chaplain this time last year offering prayers for him here at this convention. His family is doing well. He passed away way too early at the age of 50, and we laid him to rest. Colonel Tal Shepard has stepped up in a selfless way and become the PM for Apache helicopters. He's doing a fantastic job. To that entire team, my hat's off. But we have 1,300, PEO Aviation has 1,300 contractors, almost all, deployed today around the world. In COCOMs, inside formations all around the world, supporting COCOM commanders, flying missions. I have 60 aviators flying missions each and every day. Most everybody doesn't know that. Why don't you know that? We don't advertise it. But the reality is we're here to support if the mission is ever called upon. Colonel Joe Hecker would have said it. Colonel Tal Shepard and my other PMs, they all would say it. We're humble servants. We're here to serve this great nation, this great Army, and make sure that our soldiers have an unfair advantage on the battlefield. We'll continue to do that. We're committed to you, and we look forward to serving the branch in this Army for many years to come. Thanks again, and it's an honor to be here. Cool.
Okay, first of all, for all those of you who may have heard a rumor or something that said Thomas Todd may be moving, I can put that to rest. He's not going anywhere in the near term, so he's here. He